ITVT.
Hi, this is Tracy Swedlow, Editor-in-Chief of Interactive TV Today and the co-producer of the TV of Tomorrow show, which is coming up December 4th in New York City at our new location in Tribeca. We hope you can make it. Go to tvotshow.com. I'm very happy to meet on the phone, calling in from New York, Derek Forbes, who is the CEO of a new social TV app platform called Stardust. And I took an interest in it because it's all about people talking about movies and TV and connecting with each other. And so, Derek, so nice to meet you. Want to hear all about it.
Hi, Tracy. Yeah, thanks for having me on the show. Really happy to be talking to you.
And also, you are COO of the investor group called Vista Group.
Correct. Yeah, so Vista Group is a big publicly listed tech company which does a lot of tech for the movie and TV industries, helping studios, movie theaters with a variety of their tech challenges and providing software to do various things. And then Stardust is a project that we've been working on for a couple of years, which is now spinning out as its own entity, and which I'm really excited about. And so, yeah, I'm the CEO of Stardust, and we've been working hard to build it for a couple of years, and we're now kind of we're ready to start getting it in front of a whole lot of people.
Well, there's a lot to talk about. Our community is absolutely interested and or working with social TV apps and technologies that serve those apps and the broadcasters that launch them as well. And what's interesting to me about this app is that it's coming out now. I mean, I've been talking about this idea for many years. I think this is the killer app idea for interactive TV, which is my passion, technology. And I have always been surprised that people hadn't really come out with something where you can communicate how you feel about movies or TV. I mean, that's what we all do, right? We all do at home. We do with our friends and family. So now you've organized this into a really great, seems like easy to use app, which I've downloaded and played with. And tell me a little bit about why you decided to put this out.
Yeah, sure. And I'm glad you like it, and I'm glad you kind of see the point behind it. And I, for years before actually creating it, had a similar thought as well, that you watch a really compelling movie like a Mulholland Drive, for example, and you're full of all of these questions and things you want to talk about, and there's nowhere that you could go where you could just sort of see other people's reactions or talk about it or ask what that meant or anything like that. So that was kind of rattling around in my head for a while. And then I guess from a business perspective, we were dealing with marketing executives at movie studios and cinemas, and one of the messages that we kept hearing was how hard it was to market an audience for a new movie or TV show that's not a franchise, because you basically have to identify and build an audience from scratch every single time, which is pretty different to most products for most industries. And so, they do that in a variety of ways. But the opportunity we saw was to have a platform which is really all about movies and TV shows, where people can indicate what they're interested in, learn more about it, discuss it with their friends and other fans, read articles about the different things they're watching, see trailers for the latest stuff, and also discover what they might want to watch next. And I think that's the really big opportunity, is connecting great titles with audiences without studios having to spend millions of dollars on putting out billboards, if that makes sense.
I think like you said, the buzz often will build between people, and then it'll build that audience, and then they might even launch it from that. So this is a great new content launching platform before it even hits the like you said, the billboards. But it's also, I think, a great platform, and let's describe it in a second. But it's a great platform to potentially allow the filmmakers themselves at some point, perhaps when they feel that it's reached critical mass, to communicate interactively with its fans. I don't think that YouTube naturally has done that very well, so it would be interesting to see if it evolves. You mentioned Mulholland Drive. I'm kind of curious if David Lynch might like to get involved, maybe. But and I mean, are you familiar with what happened to Filmstruck, the app that was launched by Turner Classic Movies? It was
I know a little bit about Filmstruck, but not a lot. So I'm happy for you to tell me about it.
Well, I mean, it's gone. It's being integrated into whatever Warner Media will come out with, hopefully soon. But Filmstruck offered all the classic films and the great independent films, and people loved it, right? And it had comments and quotes from the filmmakers and other people. It wasn't necessarily interactive. It was all on big screen TV, or you could watch it on your PC. But it did showcase the great classic films, or just critically acclaimed films. And I notice on your app, for example, you have here mentioned The Godfather and other stuff, and you have a lot of new films. But I'm just sort of putting that out there, that as a film lover myself and TV lover, I would love those assets. I would love to be able to talk. Netflix, for example, has that huge database of films, but they've never allowed people to be interactive, to talk about how they feel. You can rate it. Anyway, I'm going into too much information about other people's platforms. Let's hear about yours. Can you describe it? I mean, I'm looking at it right now.
Yeah, of course. Yeah, so actually, it started life, like in the very first version of it that we built. It was a video reaction platform, and it was all about, you post a video of yourself reacting to a movie or a TV episode you'd just seen, which was a pretty novel idea, and one that was quite interesting to people who started using it. And we did a couple of partnerships with some YouTubers, so we got an early audience of people who were sort of used to that idea of people talking on camera about content. There's some people that love that. But since then, we've really broadened it out, and that's just one feature of it now. You can kind of discuss it via text. You can read articles. You can actually put in ratings of titles that you've seen. And one of the most powerful things that we've just released recently is this weekly recommendations feature. And really what we're trying to do there is, when you go to watch something on TV, you're sort of overwhelmed by choice, and there's a lot of places that will give you recommendations of what to watch, including Netflix and all of the streaming platforms. But we wanted to make something which only gave you a small number of recommendations of titles that we know you're going to love. And that's what we've built. And it feeds off the ratings that you put to the titles that you've seen, and then it kind of maps you with similar users who have similar tastes as you, and then it identifies 5 titles every week that are across a range of different genres, and some old, some new, and it gives them to you as suggestions to watch. And then we've only just released it, but we've had some really initial feedback from people that it's really spot on in terms of providing great recommendations of some things that people maybe had heard of and wanted to watch, and then some things that people had never heard of, and then they watched them and they're like, holy moly, that was actually amazing.
I actually would argue also for the old style recommendation, which is to have, someone who's a curator, a human.
Yeah, look, I think that's often the best form of recommendation of all, is a recommendation from a friend or a family member who knows your tastes. And I think that's great. We built a feature in so you can send a recommendation. It'll direct you to the right movie and where you can stream it. So that is there. But also, I think that this is a means of you finding out about content that maybe you wouldn't have found out about, but actually is very well suited to your tastes.
What I meant actually, and all of that sounds great, but I also, as a film lover, would love to find an individual whose taste I liked, and have them and join them as a sort of moderator. And maybe they've got opinions and they put up their videos about, and they do a little mini film festival. In fact, I'll tell you offline about a fantastic platform you should look at about that. And then, or even contacting some of the important critics out there, like David Bianculli is great, and I'm sure he'd love to participate. He speaks at our shows. People who are knowledgeable, expert, passionate, who can really provide some insight. Anyway, enough about my ideas.
No, I mean that's great, and that is actually very much at the heart of what we do as well. You can we have a bunch of influencers and other tastemakers in film on the app, and you can follow them, and then in your feed you'll see what they've been watching, been rating it, and if they post a comment or a video, you'll see that. So absolutely, yeah, I think that's great.
So let's talk about sort of the numbers. I saw somewhere in the press that your people sent me. Are there 10 million YouTube people using this? I mean, because this is built off YouTube, right? So, I mean, are you trying to bring YouTubers over to this platform, or do you think this will be bought by YouTube? What's the strategy here? How do you build scale with this app?
Yeah, so let me just clarify. So we've got about 100,000 users on the app. It's pretty early stage in terms of us launching it. So I think probably the number that you were reading was about some of the users that we have are YouTube influencers, and that the reach of those people on the YouTube platform is that number, and that's just meant to suggest some of the reach that people can get by talking about movie. But like if they discover a movie on Stardust and then talk about it on YouTube, that's a potential outcome. But yeah, that's what that was about. And we did find in the early days there was a kind of a natural progression to watch YouTube influencers talking about movies, translating to people wanting to do that on Stardust. And that's but then now that we've broadened out to non-video reactions, that's only one part of it.
Well, so what's your plan? Do you want to build scale on this platform and then sell it to someone who would integrate it into theirs? Or do you think that this is a niche product that could grow and grow to the point, because this right now is for free. I don't see necessarily any revenue opportunities unless you're getting maybe banner ads. I mean, what's the plan for monetization, or maybe there isn't? It's just passion.
Sure. Yeah. So we're not monetizing it currently. The plan is to build it to a critical mass of users. Yes, it is a niche platform, but it's a large niche because it's people who are fans of movies and TV shows, which is a lot of people. And so our goal is to build it to tens of millions of users, and so that it's a critical mass that it can actually make a difference in getting a new movie or a new TV show in front of an audience, and then help the industry to do that, to get their titles in front of people in a much more targeted and efficient way than putting it up on a billboard or a cable TV ad, which is a much blunter way of getting it in front of people.
Do you have a plan for making this an app for OTT platforms?
It's not something in the short-term horizon. It's something that we've considered in the medium to long term. Right now, if you discover something that you want to watch on Stardust, we link out to the places that do offer it in streaming as just a convenience. But that's not to say that we couldn't, with the right user base, start adding content directly into the app itself, and then potentially add it into an OTT platform. Yeah.
So how are people finding this right now? Do you know where it's ranked on the App Store? Or, I mean, other than like through venues like us or other press, how are people, is it word of mouth?
Yeah, well, so we're really only just getting started with driving to get more people using it. But there is certainly some word of mouth. We get a number of users coming in because they've heard about it from their friends. And then we've kind of dabbled with a few things like some partnerships with influencers, a couple of events where we've run contests for people around Game of Thrones, for example. So yeah, we've tried a few things, and we're getting ready to really ramp up and do a lot more to build that number up.
I don't know if I saw this on your platform, but do you enable watch parties and things like that on here?
Yeah, we've kind of done a few things ourselves where we've tried out things like that to gather users together. People who watch certain shows will have like a watch party. We don't have like a feature where people organize their own ones, but we've kind of like organized a couple of things, like the Game of Thrones finale and a few things like that.
I know that many years ago, when we were all going to the American Film Institute Enhanced TV Lab, the Turner Classic Movies people created this fantastic prototype where you had there was a competition that allowed you to become a super mogul, a movie mogul, if you convinced people to watch more programming. It's a long story, but their whole sort of app idea. This is even pre-OTT. This is in the early 2000s. But the goal was to sort of gamify their entire network to drive viewership. And I always thought that was such a good idea. And it allowed certain people to rise to the top, to become sort of stars or moguls, Yeah. It'd be kind of curious to do that, or do polls. Of course, people love doing trivia contests and things to generate a leaderboard, perhaps. I'm just thinking out loud.
Look, those are all some really fun ideas. And I think, in terms of the mogul thing, very few things are as powerful in terms of what to watch as a recommendation from a friend. So I think that kind of speaks to that system, and we've very much been about prioritizing and enabling that throughout our ecosystem. But yeah, some of those other ideas are great as well, adding like polls around particular shows and people being able to, work out which Game of Thrones house they are, or which Riverdale character they are based on, certain things. For people who get really invested into particular shows, I think that stuff's really compelling.
Or posting it to Facebook and things like that. The results. What's been the response from the studio community? Are they aware of what you're doing? I mean, I guess you're licensing content.
Yeah, we've been absolutely. Yeah, we've been working with our partners there as we go and showing them what we're doing. And I think generally there's a lot of support, because they can see that once this is big enough, it can be a really useful tool for them to reach audiences much more efficiently. We've done a few tests on a few releases with some good results, and so we're going to continue doing those things. For Terminator Dark Fate, we had a bunch of video reactions of our users kind of reacting to the trailer and excited about the release, and so we produced a compilation reel of those people interspersed with the trailer, with the permission of those users, and we provided it to the studio, who put it out on some of their other channels and social media to help in promoting the movies. That was kind of a unique marketing tool that we were able to help put together for them.
I think at minimum, with scale, the data that you'll be collecting on what people are interested in, where they click, the movies they're hovering around, and what they're saying. Do you have any AI on here that?
We do. Yeah. We use some machine learning as part of the weekly recommendation system that I was talking about earlier. So that looks at all of the titles that you've watched and rated, and it uses some machine learning technology to help work out what titles you are likely to enjoy, and that feeds the recommendations that you get each week.
It's interesting to look at the now playing and the percentages of people and their feelings about these movies. It seems very, consistent with what you're hearing in the press about, like, Gemini Man and Judy and all these.
And that's all derived from user ratings, and we've found it to be. I mean, obviously everybody's tastes are different, so it's hard to say that any one score is right for everybody, but we have found that it tends to track with general consensus about titles.
Would you say this is being picked up more by people who love movies or love TV?
I think it's a real mix. I think the big tentpole movies tend to attract a huge amount of attention, but then you also get certain shows like the bigger shows in particular, Stranger Things, The Mandalorian, which is coming out soon, are all getting a lot of discussion as well, and I think that's starting to broaden out into a wider set of shows as well.
Is there a chance in the future that you could potentially accept independent films that people might upload on their own, or things that are really obscure?
Absolutely, yeah, we'd love to do that. Part of our mission is all about helping to connect films with audiences, and we'd love nothing more than to give some exposure to some independent titles.
I'm jumping around different topics here, but any plans for banner advertising, addressable, anything like that?
Somewhere down the road, when we are ready to monetize, we'll need to introduce some form of advertising. Obviously banner ads and that kind of thing are a little more intrusive to the user experience. We think that the real value of Stardust is going to be in presenting recommendations to people that are actually relevant to them, but are also sponsored by a studio. And that's the least intrusive of all, because it's what the users are looking for. But yeah, it's potential we might also have to have some other more traditional types of advertising in there.
Can you post, I guess I don't know myself, can you post your response to something on this platform? Can you cross-post it to other social media platforms, but coming from Stardust? Can you do that yet?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, so like if you post a video reaction, for example, then you can share that out to Twitter and Facebook and other platforms that you might be on. If you wanted to do that. Yeah.
I might give it a try. I'm usually behind the scenes and not on camera myself, but we'll see. Anything else that you think that has been surprising on your journey, as they say, towards getting this thing launched and seeing how people react? Anything you're particularly surprised by?
Yeah, I mean, it's been a fun ride, kind of building the app and getting some initial beta users on there and getting their feedback, and then adjusting our roadmap accordingly. And I guess one thing that we noticed recently is, Netflix, when they do shows, they tend to release all of the episodes of a season all at once, which supports people kind of binging it whenever they want to. And then now we see with Disney announcing their Disney Plus platform, and one of their big titles that they're releasing with that is The Mandalorian in the Star Wars universe. And they've announced that actually they're going to release it weekly, rather than dropping it all at once. And I think that is important. I think they've looked at other really big shows like Game of Thrones, for example, where a lot of the popularity of it is built up by the social discussion about it on a week-by-week, episode-by-episode basis, and the anticipation of the next one coming. And I think that is a really important part of what they want to do in terms of building their titles into cult status. And I think we're going to see more of that.
Well, I know they're doing it with the British Baking Show, and my family, we're not happy about it.
Well, they can always wait a few weeks and then binge them all,
I guess. All right. Well, I think those are all my questions, unless I've missed something obvious. I am eager to start using it myself. I already sort of tried. So
great. All right. Well, yeah, I think you should definitely get on, check it out, check out your recommendations, see if you like them, and follow me, and then you can see what I'm watching and talking about.
Well, I actually would also, like I said, like some of the great classic films on here, from any of the decades. It would be fun to be able to find other classic film aficionados. I know most people are interested in all the modern stuff, but
you'll definitely be able to find the classics on there.
All right, well, sounds good. Thank you very, very much, Derek. Maybe we'll see you at TVOT coming up, or maybe next June in San Francisco. So,
wonderful. Okay, well, thank you, Tracy. It was a pleasure speaking with you.
All right, take care.
Okay, bye.
That was Derek Forbes, who's the CEO of Stardust, and he is also the COO of Vista Group, which is an investor in Stardust. You can find this podcast at ITVT.com and also on TVOTshow.com under the speaking button at the top. We are out on all sorts of other networks, and so you can find this podcast, which has been going for almost 12 years. We cover everything: TV, interface, advertising, social media apps, you name it, the whole multi-platform TV story. Thank you so much. This is Tracy Swedlow. Speak to you soon.
ITVT